If I were starting my Etsy business over in 2022, these are the 7 strategies that I would do today that I didn't necessarily do when I started in 2020. So learn from my mistakes, and if you haven't started your Etsy business or if you're new to selling on Etsy, then make sure to stay tuned because these are all things I learned the hard way and want to help you get started easier. And if you're new to my channel, I feel like I should do a quick introduction based on what this video is about. My name is Cassie Johnson, and I am a full-time Etsy seller, which means that I have sold enough on Etsy that I've been able to quit my full-time job, and it fully supports me and my family. Now that has been a long journey and a lot of hard work. And again, these are the 7 strategies that I've put into place now that helped me get to where I am. But I didn't necessarily start my Etsy journey doing any of these. But because of these strategies, in the last 2 and almost a half years, I've sold over $600,000 worth of t-shirts on Etsy using print on demand. I do have my favorite print-on-demand partner linked down in the description, and that is Printify. If you're newer to print-on-demand, I'll go ahead and link down below a video I did recently, which is a full setup guide on how to get started with Etsy and Printify if you haven't gotten started yet. But without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into these 7 strategies that are going to help you with your business today. The first thing I'd do different if I was starting over today is I would pick one category to focus on. So what I'd really recommend and what worked well for me was selling shirts and sweatshirts, well, really just apparel in general. When I first started, I tried selling shirts, sweatshirts, mugs, tote bags, Christmas ornaments, shower curtains, shoes, jewelry, and I really felt like I was spread really thin and was trying a lot of things but never quite getting really good at any of it. And it wasn't until I really narrowed my focus and really focused mainly on learning how to design well and research well for one category, which what I chose was apparel. That's when I really started seeing success. So I think you're absolutely able to break into other items in the future, but I think it's important to really learn one first, especially if this is your very first time starting any kind of business or doing any kind of designs like I was. I've never been a designer before, I've never owned my own business before, so it all was really overwhelming already, with on top of trying to learn how to design for all these different products. And then as you start to see successful designs with your apparel, you can add those same designs to wine tumblers, mugs, Christmas ornaments, or anything else that you're interested in, and you'll be much more likely to find success in these new categories because at least you already know that the SEO, the title and the tags, are what people are searching, and you know that your design is proven to sell. So that way you can more easily try a new category when you're interested in one. My second strategy, if I was just getting started, would be finding 10 Etsy stores to learn from as inspiration. You want to find stores that are pretty new, ideally less than 2 or 3 years old. That way you can know that this success that this person is creating isn't based off being on Etsy for 5 or 10 years and they just are banking on these bestsellers that they've already had. There's plenty of new sellers that find success really fast, and why not you? You just need to find these stores and really learn from them so you can replicate the certain things they're doing right to make sure that you find that same success in your store. Now, ideally, these stores will have either 15,000, 20,000, or more sales in their store. The reason why I'm saying that particular amount is if you're selling apparel like I do, then a pretty normal average profit per item would be around $9 profit per item sold. So if they sold 15 to 20,000 items, then in those 2 to 3 years, they made anywhere between $135,000 to $180,000 in profit. But in general, you just want to find 10 stores who are making the type of profit goals, ideally, that you are looking to make. I'd make a list of these 10 stores, and I'd write down the date you found them, the name of the shop, how many sales they have, and how many listings they have. I want you to study these stores and see what really makes them a best-selling store. Are they using really great mock-ups? Are they doing really great descriptions? Do they have photo cards that bring more information? Do they have great size charts? Are their designs really on trend with what's selling right now? These are all important things to compare, that if you want their success, you have to try and replicate the things that they're doing that is making them successful. Success leaves clues, and by no means am I trying to tell you to actually copy these stores. The point of this exercise is to really understand your competition and see what it takes to find the type of success that you're looking to have. If all of these stores have between 500 and 1,000 listings, then you know that you can't just make 50 listings and be expecting to make the same amount of sales that they have. And then you want to really see how you can improve on or differentiate yourself from these stores while still learning from their success and implementing certain things they do within your own store. The third thing that I'd do different if I was getting started today is I would do more research for my designs. So what I mean by that is when I first started, I felt like I had to create something completely unique and different out of thin air every time I went to design, and that is absolutely not true. Because while you might be able to create something that looks really nice on your computer, it doesn't always translate great into a t-shirt design, and if it's not what's trending and popular this year, then you aren't going to get as many sales. So I want you to do a lot of research of what types of designs are selling well. Do you see any specific trends within the designs that are bestsellers on Etsy? Right now I see a lot of retro fonts, retro colors, and retro graphics, where last year there was a lot of leopard print that was really popular. So you want to keep up on these trends and see what other people are doing and try to implement those same types of design elements within your own unique design. So let's say you want to make a cute Christmas shirt, but you're not sure where to start, and you don't want to copy the other Christmas shirts that are bestsellers, because then yours would just look like everything else in the search results. Maybe you go and find bestsellers under women's shirts, funny shirts, or sarcastic shirts that say something completely unrelated to Christmas, but maybe you can learn from the way they've laid out their fonts, the types of graphics they've used, or even the color palettes that they've used. And you can take notes of what they're doing that's creating a bestseller and implement that into Christmas. This way you're taking a part of a strategy that's worked really well for a different bestseller and bringing something new and unique to the Christmas niche. Because the more research you can do on bestsellers and implement best practices that they're taking into your designs as well, the more sales you'll make. The fourth thing that I do if I was starting over is, instead of just chasing 100% of what's already selling right now, I'd spend about 50% of my time focusing on current things that are bestsellers. So funny shirts, women's shirts, mom shirts, teacher shirts, whatever is currently a bestseller, I'd spend about half my time creating those types of shirts. But the other 50% of my time, I would spend creating designs that are going to be selling 8 to 12 weeks from now. So as I'm making this video here in September, that means you'd be designing for things like Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's Eve. But next month in October, it's going to be time to start designing for what's going to be selling well in December and January. And so if you're always thinking about what's going to be selling 8 to 12 weeks from now, you can get ahead of trends, get those early sales from the early shoppers, and by the time the masses come start shopping, you can be one of those bestsellers at the top. In the beginning, my first year, I really just chased what was already selling, and I always felt like I was behind. But this one strategy can really save you. So try and split up the days that you're making designs to be half what's selling right now and half what will be selling 2 to 3 months from now, and I promise that will help you really get ahead in the future. The fifth thing that I would do different is I would list consistently until I found what was working for me. Now, this is one of the big mistakes that I see a lot of new sellers make. They'll make 20, 30, 40, 50 listings and wonder why they're not making any sales, and spend all their time looking at favorites, looking at other stores, and wondering why they're not doing as well. Some shops are going to have tons of bestsellers by only making 30 or 50 listings. But most people, again, if you've never been a designer, if you've never had your own business, those first listings aren't going to be your best. So I really would recommend to just Put your blinders on and keep listing until you start getting sales. So that could mean a couple hundred listings, honestly, but you have to make sure to have done that research in the first place to make sure you're not just throwing up random designs as well. And then as you start getting sales on these items that you list, that's when you really want to capitalize on what's working. If you get an item that's selling multiple times, you want to add that design to other colors of the same shirt. You want to add that design to sweatshirts, or maybe even some of those other items like we talked about, like tote bags and mugs. Because I remember one time specifically in 2020, I was so proud of my first best-selling fall sweatshirt. And I was looking through the search results and I found another shop that had a really similar design to mine, but she had it listed a bunch of times in her shop, and she actually had 4 bestsellers with the same design that I only had 1 bestseller on. So that's a lesson that I'll never forget, and I want you to learn earlier than I did. When you start finding success with an item, you really want to capitalize it. Again, add it to other colors, add it to other items, even make other versions of it, or niche down more. So just for an example, so you know what I mean by niching down more, let's say you get a bestseller on a nurse shirt. Maybe you use that same exact design style and you make an emergency room nurse shirt. That way it's more specific, but it's already a proven design style for that niche, so you've got a much higher success of getting sales with it. The 6th thing that I would do different if I was getting started over today is to not overthink the little things. I see a lot of people when they first get started get bogged down by worrying about a lot of stuff that hasn't even happened yet. All you can do in this business is take it day by day, take a little step forward, and eventually get to where you want to go. Don't expect to know everything and be 100% comfortable the day you start, because that's really just not the way building your own Etsy business from scratch is like. You don't want to spend hours on each design overthinking them, looking back at old designs and tweaking them 12 times. Anytime that you see that there's a change you should make within your store, I want you to make that change going forward, instead of going back to all your old designs and spending hours and hours on designs that may never even sell, instead of making new ones. Because again, just like I said before, you want to put those blinders on and focus on what's important, and that's getting new listings up all the time in different niches until you find what works for you. My dad has a fun saying, and that's, if you want to win, you have to focus on what's important now. Now I'll say that again. If you want to win, you have to focus on what's important now. It's a lot of things that are going to try and pull your attention all over the place, but if you just focus on what's important right now, you'll get to success so much faster. Now put that on a post-it note next to your computer if you're an overthinker, or if you get pulled in a ton of different directions all the time, and just try and stay focused, do the research, get new designs, and list them. It really can be that simple. My 7th strategy that I would do different if I was getting started over on Etsy today would be to raise my prices on what's selling and what the manufacturers raise their prices on. So I shared this in a previous video where I went through my full sales for the year of 2021. I go month by month and share the amount of sales I had, what the total revenue and profit was, and even what niches I sold within. So I did the entire year of 2021. So if you missed that, it's a great one. I'll go ahead and link that down below. But in that video, I shared that in November of 2020, I sold $70,000 in sales and I made $20,000 in profit, which, if you're not familiar, the normal profit margin on a print-on-demand business is between 20 to 30%, depending on how you price your items. You have to pay for things like the actual products, the shipping, and the Etsy fees as well. And then in November of 2021, a year later, I sold $100,000 in revenue, which was $30,000 more than the year before, but I only made $23,000 in profit. So I sold $30,000 more and only made $3,000 more in profit. And that's because I didn't raise my prices when the manufacturer raised theirs. I didn't think it'd make as big of a difference as it did, but when you times that little bit by 3,000 sales in a month, it really adds up. If I had just raised my prices by $2 each, I could have made an additional $6,000 that month. So learn from my mistakes. When you see the manufacturers raise their prices, don't be afraid to raise yours, because guess what? Everybody else is as well. Don't be afraid to charge what you're worth and what your designs really need to sell for you to make a profit. People buy $40, $50, $60 sweatshirts on Etsy all day long. Don't feel like charging $38 is anything ridiculous. And if you're not sure how to figure out how much profit you're actually making per item after Etsy fees, I'll go ahead and link below my income and expense report that I sell for $20. It even has a built-in Etsy profit calculator. You can type in how much you spend to print and ship your item and how much you want to sell it for, and it'll calculate all the Etsy fees for you and tell you exactly what you'll be making in profit per item. So that'll be linked down in the description below. So I hope you noticed by all of the advice I've given in this video so far is that this business isn't a get-rich-quick business, and it never will be. It will only grow with a lot of hard work and research. So put in the work now, and trust me, if you really take your time, do your research, and try to think of yourself more as a scientist, trying to mix together different options to really find what works for you, then you will find success. Everybody's journey is going to look really different. It might take you 2 weeks to get your first sale, or it could take you 8 weeks to get your first sale. It all depends on how much time, effort, and research that you're willing to put in to make it work. But if you really want to change your life and do Etsy full-time, be able to quit your job like I did, then follow these steps and they'll help you get there so much faster. Now, I have lots of videos on my channel that'll teach you how to actually start and scale your Etsy business. So if you're looking for more exact how-tos, then go ahead and check out my channel and see those other videos. And I really appreciate you watching all the way until the end. Go ahead and subscribe if you really enjoyed this content and want to see more like this in the future, and I'll see you in the next one.